Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Rapozo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Rapozo. Today, my guest is joining me from down the road on US 400 in the sweet peach state of Georgia. Her name is Jen Brock. She's the VP of Marketing Communications at Mount Holyoke College from the Northeast. But she's here with me today to talk about engaging intergenerational audiences. Jen, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be here with you. And yes, I'm in Atlanta, but I work for a college that's in Western Massachusetts. And as everyone knows, Mount Holyoke is very much not in the South. So I'm a remote VP. I have that unique distinction, and I'm not one of many right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a good laugh in our pre-interview where we talked about getting sales pitches via LinkedIn from people that didn't do their research, and they said, "Hey, Mount Holyoke down in Atlanta," and then bing, lights went off. Okay, we'll delete that right away. But today we're talking about a wonderful award that Mount Holyoke won from the CASE conference, or CASE Circle of Excellence Award, for their engaging intergenerational audiences during their reunion weekends at Mount Holyoke College. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more and what the benefits of that are to get those different audiences on camera and to spread the good news about the alums at particular institutions. So Mount Holyoke has about 40,000 alums and spanning over decades. It's been around for a while now. So what was the initial insight or tension that led your team to explore a campaign focused on bridging the generational gap and not just focusing on one?
Sure. So I wouldn't say it's tension. I think it's tension in that, every time you have a school that's been around since 1837, that's a lot of graduates, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about our current audience, right, of current students, we still have alums who are the same age as our great grandparents, mm-hmm. right? Like people live for a long time, thankfully. And because of who our college is, they stay tied to us for a long time. So we really benefit from an alum community that does not just graduate and go away. I think it's very common for a small, especially liberal arts college. Those alums, they love their college and they stay very closely tied in. What that means for us is we are building connections and strengthening them with a 23-year-old who just graduated a year ago and a 93-year-old who graduated decades before from a very different Mount Holyoke, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not a tension as much as what we like to see as an opportunity, but there are challenges. Most 93-year-olds are not on TikTok. They may not even understand what social media is. Most 23-year-olds don't want to read a 6-page printed story about what college was like back in the 40s, but it's an important part of the college history. And so we always think about how we keep those relationships and keep everyone tied back into the college because it is their Mount Holyoke, whether they went here in 1945 or in 2025.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something special about that, having those different generations together. And I'm sure there's there's one thing if you see a video online or read an article, but when you get face-to-face during reunion weekend, to see those two generations together, and when the young generations speak to the ones that gone before them, maybe 50, 60 years before them, there are some stories to be shared and a little bit of wisdom to be pulled from as well if you're in the right mindset at that age. So I always like to talk to the ones who've gone before me, just to hear a little bit about more what they experienced and how much better we have it these days when it comes to education for everyone. So, but let's talk about the the first step you did when you started the campaign? You started on TikTok, and TikTok is usually,
We did.
usually for the younger folks. I mean, I'm not even on TikTok, and I'm not 93. So your first move was to launch TikTok videos of the beloved tradition Laurel Parade. So that's a bold play for an alum audience. What made you confident that TikTok was the right entry point, and how did you frame success?
So the timing worked out for us. We had launched our TikTok account just a few months before. So we were still building a following, right? Letting even our current students know and prospective students know that, hey, Mount Holyoke's on TikTok now. So we were trying to push as much as we could to get people to understand we were on that platform and to follow us and to see what we were all about. We knew right off the bat that for a lot of alums, I mean, myself included, I'm that age group, right? The parents' age group, I'll call it. They weren't going to be on TikTok. And that was okay, because if you graduated from Mount Holyoke, you knew what reunion was all about. You didn't have to be sold on it or, to buy into it. But we needed to build that TikTok presence. And the best way to sort of showcase who we are and what we do to that younger audience was to go where they are. And we knew they were on TikTok. And so it was a way for us to sort of say, hey, world, Mount Holyoke's on TikTok, but also, hey, TikTok people, we have these really incredible traditions that have been around for a very long time. If you're a graduate, I'm not selling our Laurel Parade to you. You know what it is. You love it. You can't wait for it. It was a part of your student experience. It's a part of your alum experience. If you're a current student, you're going through it every year because you're seeing it happen around you. If you're a prospective student, you may not yet know how deeply rich our traditions are. So when you see a TikTok video, what you saw was a lot of young people saying, like, what is this place? What's going on here? This is beautiful. This looks magical. And that was really our intention. Was we were not trying to sell our reunions to our already established audience. We were trying to show a side of Mount Holyoke to a TikTok audience that didn't even know we were around yet, because we hadn't debuted on the platform until just before this happened.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning into the episode today. I hope you're enjoying it so far. This episode is brought to you by StayMates, a full-service marketing agency servicing colleges and universities throughout the country. For more than 40 years, StayMates has helped higher ed institutions strengthen their brands, launch digital campaigns, and drive measurable enrollment growth. From audience research and content strategy to digital design and accessibility, StayMates brings deep expertise and a practical, results-driven approach to every engagement. Looking for a partner who really gets higher education? Learn more at staymates.com. Again, this is staymates.com for more information. And now, back to the episode. Yeah, it's a wonderful and also brilliant approach to get more people onto that platform and to share it there first. TikTok, like I said, not too familiar with it. I know I should be on it, especially with my video podcast. It would make a lot of sense, but I'm a little stubborn that way. So, but that's why I'm.
It's a wild world if you do get on it. There are many times where I can appreciate and respect a lot of the content on there. Yeah. And about half the time I will look and think, this is not for me, right? I'm too old, I'm too, whatever it is. I know it's supposed to be funny, and I know we get great reactions to some of our content. I am baffled about half the time by why it's so entertaining and why certain things do so well.
Right.
This video we did, the year that we did it, that the award looked at, of course, was over a year ago. We didn't know. It was a question. We had just launched on TikTok. We had no idea. The Laurel Parade video we did this past May, so at the beginning of this summer session, has 145,000 views.
Wow.
And it's often strangers who are saying, what is this place? What is this school? I think, what I love about the intergenerational part is that we have had staff who have shown that TikTok to alums who are in their 70s, in their 80s, in their 90s, and said, look, all these people are watching you, right? And it's given them the really feel good moment of wow, I was a part of that. It also gives them a chance to then go to their own grandkids and great grandkids and say, hey, like grandma's on TikTok, right? And so there's been this really great kind of widening where you have these generations that they have no idea what TikTok is,
Yeah.
but you can show them the video that kind of recaps what this event was and say 145,000 people have watched this video of you and your graduating class and your college and your alma mater, just because that's what those sharing platforms let us do.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about that platform. It helps you get that reach that other platforms may not give you if you put it on YouTube Short or Facebook Reels, right? So that's the other thing why you want to be on there. And things can take off without you even thinking about it. It would, but yeah, good opportunity there. And then you made a switch from TikTok to Instagram, which I'm a little bit more familiar with. So can you unpack that decision? Was it because things took off on TikTok and you had the content already, so you felt like, okay, might as well repurpose it on Instagram? And how did that work out for you all?
So TikTok was the hook, right? TikTok gave us a sort of, let's tease this out, almost like, I would say, like a movie trailer. Instagram let us go to sort of a more known audience, right? We do have a large alum following, and current student, prospective students on Instagram. That content also is delivered in a different way. So in telling some of those alum stories and in having a chance to really go into the stories and the background and the traditions, we thought Instagram would let us round it out, right? We didn't want everything about reunions to just be these really quick snippets on TikTok. We wanted a chance to actually talk to some of those alums, hear those stories, get that history, get that wisdom, and also show for younger alums and our older alums, there's a lot in common, right? The beauty of going to Instagram and giving some video content is to hear how much is still similar. That it really is. It's a Mount Holyoke experience, and I think we didn't want it to just be on TikTok in a way that it wouldn't be as accessible to a broader audience, right? So we teased it, we promoted it. We got the TikTok kind of following going, and then we went over to Instagram and went deeper on the storytelling side.
Did you look at the analytics there before you shared the videos on Instagram and pull out the ones that did particularly well and then went that route? Where you say, okay, this one really took off 155,000 views. It's probably going to do well on Instagram as well. Or did you just took everything you put on TikTok and then also put it on Instagram?
We didn't take everything, but we also didn't assume because it did well on TikTok that it was going to do well on Instagram, right? The content strategy was very different. I think we were looking more, what would be meaningful content, what was maybe a little less trendy or likely to get like that quick attention grab. Instagram gets more into stories. It goes a little deeper. People engage with it differently. I think that the comments on Instagram got more into like the share more stories. What else can you tell us? I remember when I did that when I was, 20 years old and living in Rockies or whatever. TikTok was different. It was quick hitting. It was fast. It was a lot. It moves. That platform moves at the speed of light, right? Instagram gets a little more thoughtful. And so I think we were sort of like, let's just test this out. We're also not opposed to, the content on Instagram not having that immediate like wildfire response because it lives there a little bit longer and people will come back to it. I think, what we saw was some of it was after reunions, people were coming back and looking because there were more stories to share, right? And they were coming in afterwards saying, oh, I saw this person, or we talked about this, that, and the other. And so I think for us, it was sort of a deliberate switch on, let's give that conversational piece on Instagram and see where it goes there. I think we love the duality of it, that we kind of had that, very in the moment kind of trendier feeling on TikTok. And then we sort of had the okay, let's calm things down a little bit, right? And be a little calmer and quieter on Instagram and sort of see how those stories develop, because we knew also that we wanted a chance for people to tell their own stories and for us to spark off of that and see where it might lead.
Yeah. I love the way you unpack that, and it just makes me feel warm about Mount Holyoke, the way you talk about the community that it has, tight-knit community. Makes me think about my daughter, who's 4 now. She's got another 14 years, so now I have to consider your school as well.
We will happily welcome her in 14 years.
Yeah. So the interviews that you did during the reunion weeks, you spanned it obviously across classes, including some more than 50 years apart. So how did you approach capturing those stories from such a wide range of voices? Was there a tactic behind it that ensured that those conversations felt organic and not scripted? Because some people may like to talk about things more than others, depending on the background.
We went into every one of them not knowing what we were going to get and being open to where it went. I think we had prompts and questions and things we're going to ask, right? Because we also don't want to hand someone a microphone and just say, tell us something. But I think sometimes those nuggets, those magic moments come when you don't know what someone's going to say, right? And you sort of see the surprise and wonder between them and a classmate sort of saying, oh, that's right, I remember so-and-so, right? So I think we had some basic questions as springboards. We were also willing to record a lot more than we were ever going to use or use in a specific way. So I think, some of those interviews maybe didn't lead to an Instagram video. They may become a quote that's a testimonial on the website, right? Or a social post that's just a quote from somebody, but doesn't have all that background with it. I think sometimes the outtakes give you inspiration for something else. I think any good Marcom person will tell you you have 800 times the content for what you actually use.
Yep.
And sometimes what you expect to get or you plan to get isn't what you actually use on the end. So we have a fabulous social media coordinator who's also an alum. And they were willing to go out there with a tiny mic and talk to anyone and everyone who was willing to stop for a second. The beauty of a reunion, everyone's happy, right? You've come back to your alma mater. It's fun. You're seeing classmates maybe you haven't seen in decades. You're remembering why you love your college. And here you have an alum who works in the marketing communications office who's like, tell me about when you were a student. What was the dining experience like? Where did you go for fun? What did you do on the weekends? And they're already in the spirit of loving and remembering their college experience. And we just hit record on someone's phone and just thought, let's see where this goes and what can we get from it.
That's so smart because you captured that enthusiasm and that energy during that reunion weekend. Everybody's in a good mood. You want to capture that for the prospective students to see that, hey, I can be part of it. And I want to be part of that light energy there. So I did one of those things actually too. I was at a recent community college higher ed conference in New Orleans in March, and I took this mic with me and this computer and a camera, and I interviewed people at our booth just about the benefits of community college and why they think that people should consider that if they're looking at school. So I had those people that were in a good mood, good spirits.
Right.
Was able to get good footage, almost like a little bit of research for my own benefit to see, hey, what are they thinking? How are they feeling about it? Is there something particularly exciting about their experience that I should drill into a little bit more and create content out of that? Because there may be some hot keywords in there that people are searching for. So we were talking about the campaign, then it generated a lot of interactions, but mostly it was alumni comments. And if we're posting on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever it is, you can get easy likes for things, but somebody taking the effort to actually put a comment in there, that's a little bit harder to come by. What made this campaign comment worthy, and what did you learn from that feedback loop?
So I think it's comment worthy because we have the benefit of an alum community who loves Mount Holyoke. And I know every college and every university says that their alums love their college. I mean, I say the same thing. They love it fiercely, right? And in a way where, people know, as I said, it's exhausting sometimes because their love is it knows no bounds. It knows no end, right? And they are very protective and they are very... they're very invested in what the college is doing, who the college, is, who it wants to be, their part in it. So you bring a couple thousand graduates back to campus, right? We also hold our reunion on commencement weekend. So while these alums are celebrating what they went through, our newest group is about to graduate. So there's energy and excitement and shared, love and stories. And I think the comments reflect that any alum who wasn't at reunion, because they don't all come to every reunion, right? You come at certain times. It's based upon your graduation year, wants to be there and they want to be a part of it. And they at any moment, if you stop a Mount Holyoke alum and say, tell me about your experience, they will tell you something. Sometimes they will tell you too many things and you're having to say, okay, that's why we have the tiny mic and just kind of see where it goes. But, we have two ways that they are often very quick to comment and to say things. One is any campus beauty shots. We can post a photo of, the library or, a snowfall over the chapel or the first fall day when the leaves turn. And those posts get the most engagement. The comments fill with just hearts, right? And comments about how much they loved walking on campus and different things. And the other side is those reunion moments, things like our traditions, times when they get to kind of come together and remember. And so we knew there would be engagement. I think I'm always still kind of tickled by how many comments and who they come from, because you will see a 27-year-old commenting and you'll see an 87-year-old commenting. And sometimes it's just to say, like, love my college. Right? Sometimes it's to say, tell more stories. Sometimes they'll say, I remember when, I was there and we had, cookies one night and so and so happened. Like they'll share these little like snippets about their lives. And we read every single one because sometimes that becomes the next social media campaign or the next story in the magazine. There'll be a comment about something and we'll say like, oh, that's a great idea. What if we did a whole focus on class colors on campus or, like the hidden secret spots that students find. Some of our really great content ideas come from our alums who will mention things and we sort of see what looks of interest, what we haven't thought about, what we haven't done for a while, and it just spins off into something else.
Yeah, these fall pictures or the snow cap pictures, they're such a gift because they take people momentarily back in time where they can see themselves in there and they can feel that crisp air, that crisp feeling of cold in the air, and wherever they may be and wherever they look at it, it gives them that brief moment where they're like, oh yeah, I'm a part of this, and I feel a connection that's deeper than just a piece of paper.
And from an enrollment marketing standpoint, the just absolute beauty of it is that this is not the marketing communications staff putting words into a social media post or into a brochure that it's just marketing speak. These are actual alums. These are Mount Holyoke graduates who are telling those prospective students why that place is magical, what they got from it, how it helped their careers, how it helped them be who they are. I mean, that's like, that's marketing gold, right? We can put a lot of words down. We can write a lot of messaging. We can put in those things that try to tell you what the school is like. But to have an actual graduate in their own words, on their own time, leave a comment on an Instagram post that is so full of love and passion for this college. I can't buy that. I can't create that. That's all authentic. It's genuine. It's from the heart, and it truly gets to our outcomes piece, which is these students graduate. They do incredible things in the world. They also never stop loving Mount Holyoke.
Yeah, and that's that kind of stops you in your track as a marketer as well, because you're so agenda driven and campaign driven. You feel like got to push out the next thing, and you often forget the impact that it makes. And when you get a comment like that, it's almost like a warm hug from somebody that's
it's the why you do it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
It's why we do this work. I tell people all the time, like I don't want to sell coffee cups or hotel brands or I don't disparage anyone who's in that kind of marketing. But that's just not where my heart is, right? I'm about experiences and changing people's lives and the investment in what their education does for their future. And to see alums who feel so strongly that they will comment on an Instagram post just because they love their college so much and it has such an impact on their life.
Yep.
That's why we do it, because if a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 17-year-old student sees that and says like, wow, like what is this place, right? The TikTok video, to have strangers who are saying, I don't know what this is, but I'm crying watching it. It's magic. That's more than a marketing message at that point.
Absolutely. Now, taking you back to the interview series that you did on campus, was it a marketing team or were there student workers that interviewed the alums?
Marketing team in quotation marks, right? It was our social media coordinator, who is a staff person, who's an alum, and then a student worker.
Okay.
So we're lucky to have, we call them communications assistants, but it's a student campus job. They're current students. They work about 10 to 12 hours with us, give or take what finals and tests are doing. And some of them focus on social media, some of them focus on photo and video, some of them are more on the writing side. They kind of do some projects on their own. They bring ideas in. A majority of our TikTok content is driven by those students because they know far better than I do what's playing on TikTok and what's going to go over well. So it was literally a social media coordinator who's a recent graduate and a student worker who went out with a tiny mic and a phone and went up to alums and said, hey, do you have a moment? Can we ask you some questions? You know, we're filming some content from Mount Holyoke social media channels. Can you tell us about your experience? What year did you graduate? What was your favorite spot on campus? What do you love about reunion? And that student and that social media coordinator got all the content, edited it, cut it down, packaged it. And that's what you then saw on Instagram.
Yeah, it tells me a lot about the way you all empower early career staffers and, you know, making sure that they get the relevant experience. But now that you had the success, how do you structure your team to support ideas like that in the future? Because, you know, maybe, I'm not sure what the background is prior to this campaign, if it was as successful as this one, but now that you hit the home run with that one, you're like, okay, I want to repeat that. Who can I trust with it? Are you continually using, I mean, obviously you're going to have the social media coordinator, but when it comes to student workers, is there a specific way to vet them to make sure that they're going to be the right fit for future interview series like that?
We do. So that social media coordinator has been promoted to social media manager. You know, they're doing a phenomenal job and really showed kind of their ability to look at the strategic, but really generate some great content. They manage those student workers. You know, with how colleges go, we would love to keep our student workers for 4 years. It's really unrealistic. They have so many opportunities. You know, internships take them in different places. There are other campus jobs. They're a campus volunteer. They're in clubs. Unfortunately, for being a relatively small school, Mount Holyoke has a huge amount of things you can do. And so sometimes, you know, we'll get them for a year and then they'll want to try something else. They'll get involved in the theater department. They'll go and do, you know, a whole different approach to life. So if we have them for a couple of years, it's great because we build some longevity and some momentum with them. If we only have them for a year, we're okay. We kind of refill every year. We post a job. There's an interview process. And we go through and talk about, it doesn't have to be that you have social media or Marcom experience coming in. It's really the interest and what you can contribute. So we love the students who maybe come in and say, besides my own account, I haven't done a lot of this, but I have all these ideas. You know, we're always looking for ideas. We're always looking for the enthusiasm. And we're also looking for the ability to execute on their own because we have one social media manager. That one person cannot run all of this by themselves. They can direct it and manage it and kind of oversee it, but we depend heavily on those students to really create and drive the content. It doesn't mean that they are on their own just uploading whatever they want, right? There's obviously an approval process and an oversight, and we try to coach and guide them on what's best from the college versus if they were doing it for their own personal account, right? If you're speaking for an institutional voice, there's a different level of responsibility. But we do give them the authority to kind of bring in some ideas and to push back on us. And they'll sometimes say, this is what's going to work really well with students. And so there's a little bit of a leap of faith for us as the, you know, quote unquote adults in the room to say, okay, you know, let's go. And we just, you know, we trust those students. We love working with them. We, you know, are happy to kind of help them figure out what their careers might look like. And we truly depend on them because we don't have a staff of 15 social media folks. We have one. And then we have this great group of student workers who just pull together the most incredible content. They have a lot of great ideas. They have a great presence on campus. So they can talk to other students. They can talk to faculty. They can bring a perspective that I think if I was a high school student, I want to hear from a student. I don't want to hear from the old person sitting in the office, right? I want to know like what current students are seeing and doing. And that's what that aspect lets us bring to it.
That's a smart approach for sure because they know what's trending, and sometimes things, when I look at things on Instagram or YouTube Shorts, I'm like, I don't get it. Why is this getting any attention, right? But it's not. I'm not the audience in that particular case. So you want to make sure that you have the audience actually working with you there to give a little bit of insider information on what may be trending and what may
Right.
pop, as they say. So case judges, they called it an excellent use of existing resources. So we're all short on time and the budget. So what can other higher ed marketers learn from how you made the most of reunion weekend to generate evergreen content?
I think it's grabbing onto what you have. Right. So we didn't say, oh, we want to do this alum series. Let's contact a bunch of alums, try to set up separate interviews, or bring people to campus or send somebody out. We said, what's coming up? Oh, look, Reunion's going to bring 3,000 alums to campus, right? They're going to be happy walking around. There are, the program takes them all over campus. Can we just go ahead and grab them at different times and ask these questions? And so we built the content generation around what was already in front of us. We didn't say we need to get a video production crew. It's like, let's just shoot it on a phone. It's social first. So let's go with what works for social first, which is a tiny mic and a phone. We knew we wanted it to be very real and down to earth. So we didn't have lights or filters or, put them into a studio with a green screen. We literally just would go outside and say, hey, these people are walking by. They have a second, let's have them on campus in all their reunion glory, just talking to us and seeing. And so I think it was being willing to have it look maybe not as highly produced. Right. This was never meant to be a very stylized, let's do a lot of color correcting and audio editing and, make the sound. We didn't have a boom mic. We didn't have them all in a controlled area. It was literally outside in some cases. It was, just inside the lobby of a building. But that was what it was meant to be. It was meant to be glimpses of alums talking about their experience while they were on campus. And I think some of the genuineness comes through because it's not perfect, right? They laugh, they giggle, a car drives by, you hear the wind blow. It was very clearly not scripted and staged. And I think sometimes nowadays, especially, some of the best content is where it feels real. And real also gives you a lower budget.
That's right. And you want to fight the urge of cutting it out, like if a car drives by and that sort of thing. Let's talk about that a little bit more, because as we land this plane, we talked a lot about positive things about this campaign. But if somebody's listening in and they want to replicate what you all did, what missteps do you think other institutions might make if they try to replicate your campaign without fully understanding the nuances?
I think you have to know your own institution and how your alums and your students engage with either a marketing communications office, with a student worker. We were very willing to get content that wasn't going to work. We didn't know when we started filming these what would happen. We could have had one small snippet and the rest were like, oh no, we can't use this. And that was going to be okay. Part of why we didn't overly invest on that front end is because we knew it was going to be kind of a very sort of organic, down to earth campaign. I think if another college went at it and wanted it to be really produced and really stylized, I think it might fall flat. Right? This would not have worked if we had given a bunch of alums a series of questions and tried to script what they were going to say. You hope they say what is going to work for you. But if you feed them strategic plan messages or enrollment marketing messages and try to get them to very genuinely say that back to you, that's a different kind of content. I think we also had to sort of understand that not everybody was going to want to talk to us. So we were going to get what we could, as much as we could. And if somebody didn't want to say something, even if we really wanted an alum from the class of 65, if we couldn't get one, we had to be okay with it, because to make it feel forced would have taken away from what the beauty of the campaign was.
Yeah. That's good insights, very wise words there for sure. Really appreciate your time today. Jen, tell us a little bit about Mount Holyoke College and how people can connect with you after this interview.
So we are a gender diverse women's college. That means that we accept applications from trans students, non-binary students, gender non-conforming students, women. We are located in Western Massachusetts with about 2,200 students. We're known for being strong in STEM, but also really strong in liberal arts overall. We have a dynamic president. Her name's Danielle Hawley. You will often see her in CNN and CNBC and different places speaking up in defense of education and in defense of kind of what higher education needs to be in the world right now. Our website is mtholyoke.edu. And as Chris will tell you, we would love to hear from you. Follow us on social. We put out some great content. And I think it's a place where I'll say it very loudly, like higher education's under attack. Women's colleges in the 60s, there were 200 of us or more. There's 29 right now. So, we want to stick around and be really strong and proud of who we are. But there are a lot of challenges. And I think I would challenge anyone to look into a women's college, look into liberal arts colleges. We have a lot to offer. We're very proud of who we are. And at a time when I think there's a lot of questions and confusion and challenges in the world, higher ed especially, and liberal arts in specific, gives you a chance to use some of that critical thinking to make sense when things don't always make sense.
Perfect. And how can people get in touch with you? LinkedIn the best way?
LinkedIn's the best way. I'm Jen Brock on there. Pretty easy to find. I describe myself as the wizard behind the curtain with a Mary Poppins mentality. I think I'm the only one who has that. So if you look up Jen Brock, you will very easily find me.
Perfect. I'll be sure to tag you in the recap so people can find you and Mount Holyoke easily.
Great.
Wishing you all the best in your work, and I know that Mount Holyoke will thrive under your marketing leadership. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the time, Chris. I appreciate it.
You bet. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Education Marketing Leader Podcast this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and your network. And if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, now that you listen to one and you got inspired, reach out to me via DM. We'd love to help you launch your own. We'll take care of everything for you, the scripting, the strategy, the editing, the distribution. All you have to do is show up, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you're ready for it, let's chat. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time at the Education Marketing Leader Podcast. Take care, friends.